The Karnak temple complex is an extraordinary symbol of ancient Egypt's religious, political, and architectural prowess. Located on the east bank of the Nile River near modern-day Luxor, ancient Thebes, Karnak is the largest temple complex ever constructed and one of the most significant religious sites of the ancient world. Covering more than 200 acres, Karnak consists of temples, chapels, pylons, and sanctuaries dedicated primarily to the god Amun-Ra, the chief deity of Thebes. However, the complex also features significant structures dedicated to other deities, including Mut, Amun's consort, and Khonsu, their son. Karnak was built over a period of more than 2,000 years, beginning around 2000 BCE during the Middle Kingdom and continuing until the Greco-Roman period. Its expansion was the work of dozens of pharaohs, each seeking to leave a lasting monument to their reign by contributing temples, statues, obelisks, and pylons. The origins of the Karnak complex can be traced to the 11th dynasty, during which Egypt's capital shifted to Thebes. The early rulers of the Middle Kingdom, particularly Senusret I, circa 1971 to 1926 BCE, began constructing the first structures at Karnak. These initial buildings were relatively modest compared to the colossal expansions that would follow in later periods, but they laid the foundation for what would become the most important religious site in Egypt. At this stage, the Karnak complex was primarily focused on Amun-Ra, a local god of Thebes who rose to prominence during the Middle Kingdom. Amun was soon merged with Ra, the sun god of Heliopolis, to become Amun-Ra, one of the most powerful deities in the Egyptian pantheon. Karnak reached its height during the New Kingdom when Egypt was at its political and cultural zenith. Pharaohs of the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties dedicated enormous resources to expanding the temple complex. Each ruler sought to honor Amun-Ra and ensure their place in history by adding new sections to the temple. Key contributors during this period include Hatshepsut, circa 1479 to 1458 BCE, one of Egypt's few female pharaohs, who added two massive obelisks and a sanctuary to the temple. Her obelisks are among the tallest ever erected in Egypt, standing at 30 meters, 97 feet. Thutmose III, circa 1479 to 1425 BCE, is often considered one of Egypt's greatest warrior kings. In addition to his military conquests, he greatly expanded Karnak, commissioning the famous festival hall, also known as the Akhmenu. Thutmose's botanical garden, located within the temple precinct, featured carved depictions of exotic plants and animals brought back from his military campaigns in the Levant and Nubia. Amenhotep III, circa 1386 to 1349 BCE, one of the most prolific builders of ancient Egypt, constructed the monumental statues of Amun-Ra and expanded the temple's boundaries significantly. He also built the sacred lake, an essential feature for the purification rituals of priests. Ramses II, circa 1279 to 1213 BCE, who is often considered the greatest and most celebrated pharaoh of Egypt, added colossal statues of himself and erected numerous pylons. His contributions further enhanced Karnak's grandeur and cemented his legacy as one of Egypt's most powerful rulers. Following the New Kingdom, Egypt entered a period of political fragmentation known as the Third Intermediate Period. Despite this, Karnak continued to grow, although on a smaller scale than during the New Kingdom. The 25th dynasty, particularly under the Nubian pharaoh Taharqa, circa 690 to 664 BCE, saw significant additions, including the largest columns ever built at the site. During the late period, Egypt came under Persian and later Greek Ptolemaic rule. Even though Karnak's influence had waned somewhat, the site remained a significant religious center. Ptolemaic rulers, including Ptolemy IV, continued to maintain and expand the temple, ensuring that it remained an essential part of Egyptian culture and identity. Under Roman rule, Karnak retained its religious importance, although the construction of new temples largely ceased. The advent of Christianity in Egypt during the Roman Empire's later stages resulted in the decline of traditional Egyptian religious practices. Many of Karnak's temples were abandoned or repurposed as Christian churches. By the 4th century CE, Karnak, like many other ancient temples, had fallen into disuse, with its religious significance forgotten as Egypt transitioned to Christianity and later Islam. Karnak is a sprawling complex with a vast array of structures, each added by different pharaohs over the course of centuries. Some of the most significant architectural features include arguably the most iconic part of the Karnak complex. The great Hypostyle hall was constructed by Seti Pasha and completed by Ramses II. The hall covers an area of 5,000 square meters, 54,000 square feet, and contains 134 massive columns, 12 of which tower over 21 meters, 69 feet high. These towering columns form a central nave flanked by smaller columns, creating the illusion of a stone forest. The hall's columns are intricately carved with depictions of pharaohs presenting offerings to the gods and engaging in religious ceremonies. The ceiling, much of which has fallen, was originally painted in bright colors, symbolizing the sky. It is one of the most impressive architectural achievements in ancient Egypt and continues to awe visitors today. Karnak is famous for its obelisks, tall stone pillars with pyramid-shaped tops, which were erected by various pharaohs as monuments to their reigns and as offerings to the gods. Among the most notable obelisks at Karnak are those of Thutmose I and Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut's obelisk, still standing today, is the tallest surviving ancient obelisk in Egypt, standing at nearly 30 meters, 97 feet. It is inscribed with texts glorifying her reign and devotion to Amun-Ra. The sacred lake, built during the reign of Amenhotep III, was used for ritual purification by the priests of Karnak. It measures 120 by 77 meters, 394 by 253 feet, and is surrounded by stone steps. The priests of Karnak used the lake during daily purification rites and during the annual Opet festival, in which statues of Amun-Ra, Mut, and Khonsu were transported from Karnak to Luxor temple via ceremonial boats. To the south of the main temple complex lies the Precinct of Mut, dedicated to the goddess Mut, consort of Amun-Ra. This section of Karnak contains the Temple of Mut, as well as a smaller temple dedicated to Khonsu, the lunar god and son of Amun and Mut. Surrounding the Precinct of Mut is an artificial lake known as the Ishiru, which is crescent-shaped and used for similar ritual purposes as the sacred lake. The area also contains hundreds of statues of Sekhmet, the lion-head goddess, who was closely associated with Mut. Connecting the Karnak temple to the Luxor temple, the Avenue of Sphinxes is a grand processional way lined with human-headed sphinxes. This 2.7-kilometer, 1.7-mile road was used during religious festivals, especially during the Opet festival, when statues of Amun-Ra and other deities were carried between Karnak and Luxor. The Avenue of Sphinxes is one of the most dramatic features of the Karnak complex, symbolizing the divine connection between the gods and the pharaohs. Karnak was not merely a temple, it was the religious and political heart of Egypt during much of the New Kingdom. The temple was the primary cult center of Amun-Ra, the king of the gods, who was considered the protector of the pharaohs and the nation. The temple complex was designed to reflect the creation of the universe according to Egyptian mythology, with the temple itself symbolizing the primeval mound from which life first emerged. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt were considered divine intermediaries between the gods and the people. By constructing temples like Karnak, they reinforced their connection to the gods and legitimized their rule. The temples were not only places of worship, but also a way for the pharaohs to demonstrate their wealth, power, and piety. Religious festivals, particularly the Opet festival, played a central role in the life of the Karnak temple. During the Opet festival, statues of Amun-Ra, Mut, and Khonsu were paraded from Karnak to Luxor, symbolizing the rejuvenation of the pharaoh's divine power. The priesthood of Amun, headquartered at Karnak, became one of the most powerful institutions in Egypt. By the end of the New Kingdom, the priests of Amun had accumulated immense wealth and political influence, rivaling that of the pharaohs themselves. The immense power wielded by the priesthood is evident in the vast resources devoted to the construction and expansion of Karnak. Karnak's significance began to wane after the New Kingdom, as Egypt fell into periods of political instability. However, the complex was never entirely abandoned. Even during the Ptolemaic and Roman periods, the site continued to function as a religious center. With the advent of Christianity in Egypt, many of the temples were closed, and Karnak fell into disrepair. Over the centuries, it was partially buried by sand and debris. However, its colossal ruins remained visible, drawing the attention of European explorers and archaeologists. In the 19th century, systematic excavations of Karnak began. Pioneers such as Jean-François Champollion, who deciphered the Rosetta Stone, made significant contributions to understanding the temple's history and inscriptions. Today, Karnak remains a focal point of archaeological study, with ongoing excavations continuing to reveal new insights into the temple's construction and its role in ancient Egyptian society. Today, the Karnak temple complex is one of Egypt's most important tourist attractions and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Millions of visitors from around the world travel to Luxor each year to witness the awe-inspiring grandeur of the temple. The Karnak Sound and Light Show, held in the evenings, offers visitors a chance to experience the temple in a new light, with dramatic storytelling and illuminations bringing its history to life. In addition to its significance as a tourist destination, Karnak remains an active site of archaeological research. New discoveries are still being made, shedding light on the lives of the pharaohs, the priests, and the people who once worshipped in its halls. The uncovering of additional statues, temples, and sections of the Avenue of Sphinxes highlights that Karnak continues to be a dynamic center of historical exploration. The Karnak temple complex stands as a monumental testament to the religious, political, and architectural achievements of ancient Egypt. With its colossal columns, towering obelisks, intricate carvings, and vast processional ways, Karnak reflects the grandeur and ambition of the pharaohs who built it. As one of the largest and most significant temple complexes ever constructed, Karnak provides invaluable insights into the religious practices, political power structures, and artistic achievements of one of the world's greatest civilizations. Today, Karnak remains a source of fascination for historians, archaeologists, and visitors alike. Its continuing preservation and study ensure that the legacy of Egypt's pharaohs will endure for generations to come, offering a window into a time when gods walked among men and the pharaohs ruled with divine authority. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. See you soon.